What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. And I thought we would do another how-to video today. And before you, I have 3 different items from 3 different quote-unquote eras of Star Wars collecting. And I'm going to show you how to submit each of these to Collector Archive Services for grading. Yes, I've received this request many times from many subscribers, so I finally put together a how-to video on how to submit items for grading. And I'm going to do 3 different types of items, and I'm going to walk you through how to do it step by step. Now look, people, I am an idiot, all right? My wife will attest to that. My wife is a PhD in molecular genetics, okay? I hope my kids get my wife's brain and not my brain, because I'm not that bright. But I decided that this video has been requested enough that I needed to put it together, so we're going to do it idiot-proofed and make it super easy. Collector Archive Services already makes it really easy to submit items. So I'm going to walk you through all 3 of these different items in great detail in terms of how I would submit them to Collector Archive Services. And I'm even going to have video of me doing the process step by step. Here we are at Collector Archive Services main home screen. So go to collectorarchive.com and it'll take you here. Then just go in the upper right hand corner, you'll see the My Account tab, and then click on Create an Account. From there, just fill in all of your personal information as you would like it recorded by Collector Archive Services. Make sure to use the address that you would like your item shipped back to here, and then also include your email and a password. Confirm your password, and then fill in the security code down below here. After that, click on the Create an Account button, and your account is now created. And you are free to start spending money willy-nilly on grading items. So now that you have your account set up, it's time to get started with submitting the items, filling out the necessary paperwork on Collector Archive Services website. And let's start with the custom item. So we're going to do 1 loose graded license figure, we're going to do 1 custom, and then we're going to do 1 standard mint on card that is not in Collector Archive Services system yet. Let's start with this one. You guys just saw this in the video from yesterday. This is the beautiful Power of the Force 2 Italian market exclusive gig Italian signed Boba Fett. And the reason this is a custom is because it is autographed by Jeremy Bullock, as you guys saw. So technically this falls under the custom category. Any custom item that is not a standard mint on card or not a standard license figure, such as bootlegs or prototypes or any kind of weird grading item that requires custom fabrication, would fall under this kind of category. For this one, though, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it. So for the gig Power of the Force 2 autographed Boba Fett that I have, you've got a couple of options for submitting this one to Collector Archive Services. I'm going to show you the easiest way, and then I'll show you a second way that you could also submit that kind of rare item. So again, make sure that you are signed in to your account before you start shopping. But from the main home screen on Collector Archive Services, the best way to find out if Collector Archive has already graded an item is by using their search function. Collector Archive Services search function is a little bit tricky. It all depends on how the item is labeled in their system. So for example, if you go to the name function for searching, if you wrote out fully Power of the Force 2, hardly anything comes up. But how the item is labeled will be how it shows up here. And the way that it shows up is Power of the Force 2, but written this way, P-O-T-F-I-I. And when you hit search, thinking, here's what comes up. And as you can see, they've already graded a few Power of the Force 2 items. They did grade a Power of the Force 2 gig Bosk, but not a Boba Fett. So you could do it a couple of ways. And in this example, I'm going to click on the US card that they've already graded. So I click here. And then it takes you to just any generic Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett. At that point, you've got a few options. You can either archive it without a grade, but given the price difference, it makes no sense to do this. So I always click Grading to make sure that the item receives a grade and is not just archived without a grade. Then you got two different case types you can use. For very rare items that you don't want to have any sunlight penetrating the acrylic case, you might want to use the museum quality. And for standard mint on cards, the cost is about $12.50. But I'm not going to do that for this Gig Boba Fett, although I probably could. I'm going to use this just the standard casing, so there's not a gigantic price difference. And then you have to decide whether you want it expedited or not to cut the line, so to speak, of items that are already there. To expedite this item, you would just click on it and then do either 7-day turnaround, which adds an extra $100 on top of the $49.99 that they charge for the grading. And then 48-hour rush is really expensive. That's $250, but that means that they turn it around in 2 days. I very rarely use the express option unless it's something I really want back or if it's for a gift or something like that. So in this case, I'm going to leave the expedited turnaround blank. Now, here's where a lot of people mess up. They forget to include the return shipping allowance. Now, for example, I bought that Gig Boba Fett for about $90, and I'm spending about $50 grading it. So the return shipping, you can put whatever number you want in there, but I usually do about market value. And to me, the market value on a signed Jeremy Bulloch Gig Italian Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett graded, it's going to be a lot more than what I put into it in terms of the $90 plus the $50. So I'm going to guess just at a very low end, it's worth at least $200 once graded. So that's the number that I would put here for the return shipping amount. Then you need to click this little tiny box, and this is where you would put any special notes that you want the graders to know about. And in my case, that's really important because right now all they show is a US card on the website, but this is the much more rare Gig Italian card that's autographed. So what I'm going to do here is input the following. This is for the grading of my Gig Italian Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett. Please be sure to note on the label that this is the Italian version and not the US card back. So that just reminds the graders that when they label the item that this is not the US card back, this is the much more rare Gig Italian version. And then I hit add to cart. And then as you can see, it gives you a little notification in green up here that this has been added to your cart. And then you can either go to view cart or continue shopping. In our case, we're going to continue shopping. Okay, so now we're going to go through another option for submitting the Gig Italian Boba Fett for grading. Now remember, we still have not paid for the authentication of this signature yet, so I'm just showing you a second option for how to submit that item if you didn't want to do it the first way. From collectorarchive.com, down here in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a little icon that says New. Have a toy we haven't graded yet? Well, in this case, that's true because they have not graded one of these Italian Boba Fetts yet. So I would click there, and that takes you to this screen. I end up using this one a lot, obviously, because I submit a lot of weird and wacky and custom items. So custom add new item. And so for the manufacturer, this is really Kenner/Gig because this is how it's labeled on the actual card back, right? It has the Kenner logo as well as the Gig Italian logo. So that's what I would put for the manufacturer. For the toy line, I would say Star Wars Power of the Force 2, since that is how Collector Archive Services likes to label Power of the Force 2 figures, POTFII. For the toy name, I would say Boba Fett. For the year, I don't have the year in front of me right now, so I want to double check this before I actually paid for it, but I think it's 1995. It could be 1996 or something like that, but double check that on the actual item before you put the year in. For the condition, this is new and sealed. It's not open and it's not loose, so you won't put new and sealed. And then for any notes, here's what I'm going to put for mine, and I'm just being very specific. This is for the signed Jeremy Bulloch Gig Italian Power of the Force 2 Boba Fett. And so that just lets them know that this is an item that they haven't graded yet, And I'm specifically stating, hey, this is for the signed Jeremy Bullock item. For the return shipping insurance amount, again, I would put 200 here, which is what I did in option number 1. And then make sure to click that box again. After that, just hit add to cart. Give it a second, and then you'll see again where it says add custom, add new item to cart. And so now that one is in my cart. So you got 2 different ways that you could submit that gig Boba Fett. So now that we have the Boba Fett added to our cart, that only grades the item. That doesn't pay for the authentication of Jeremy Bullock's signature. So now let's add that to the cart. Again, from collectorarchive.com's main home screen, scroll down to the bottom. And you'll see here a couple of standard items that they have listed, including their memberships. But one item that we're going to need is this one, the JSA authentication fee. And what that is that's for James Spence authentication. You pay a flat fee to have Jeremy Bullock's autograph authenticated. And so here we are, CAS signature series with JSA full letter of authentication. Cost is per signature being authenticated. Well, in our case, we have 1 signature to authenticate. And so all I would really do here is hit add to cart. Boom. And so as you can see again, now I've paid for the authentication fee. One other quick note regarding that gig Boba Fett is that in option 2, since I'm adding a brand new item that Collector Archive has not graded before, I'm not going to be charged at checkout for that one until they actually receive it and then check it in themselves. Whereas with option 1, I'm paying for it up front. Okay, so now we've seen 2 different ways in terms of how to submit this autographed Boba Fett figure, but the method using the item not yet graded function is definitely the way to go for items that are custom, like prototypes or bootlegs, or items where you want very specific casing instructions for Collector Archive services. Now let's do a standard license figure. This is a Lily Letty Gamorrean Guard. I'm not actually going to be submitting this figure because I'm waiting to find a card back, a Lily Letty card back, so I can do a custom with the card back behind this figure. But let's assume that we're just submitting the figure by itself, and you want to get it graded. Collector Archive has graded just about every loose license figure there is, but my only caution is make sure you know what you have in hand before you send it in. So under the special instructions section, you can request the labeling, and Collector Archive may or may not listen to you. Sometimes they listen to me, sometimes they don't. They have their own methods, but assuming that what you're asking them to label on the grading label is factual, they usually will work with you on it. But if you have like a very rare Spanish figure or an overstock and things like that, you got to make sure you know what you're submitting. But in this case, it's a very standard Lily Letty. Collector Archive Services has already graded one on their website. So submitting a loose license figure like this is super easy, and let me show you how now. So here we are back at collectorarchive.com and the main home screen. So we know that Collector Archive has probably graded a Lily Letty Gamorrean Guard. It's a fairly common item. So let's find it. And so if we go to the name search function and type in Gamorrean and then hit search, let's see what popped up. All kinds of interesting Gamorrean Guard items. Look at all these beautiful items. Well, look right here. In your lower right of your screen, you'll see Lily Letty Star Wars Loose Action Figure Gamorrean Guard. Well, that is exactly what we're looking for. So let's click on that. And again, it takes us to the standard screen for adding something to our cart. So of course, I'm going to hit the grading button. I'm going to do standard casing since it's a fairly common figure without any white that I have to worry about fading over time. So we'll do standard casing. I'm not going to do expedited turnaround again. For the return shipping, just estimate what you think it'll be worth after grading. I'll just say $100 to keep it simple. Again, click that item there. And this is a pretty standard figure, so I'm not going to include any special notes. And then here I will hit the add to cart. And boom. Again, you'll see the notification that says added Lily Letty Star Wars Loose Action Figure Gamorrean Guard to cart. Very, very simple to add items to your cart when Collector Archive has already graded the item. Finally, we're going to take a look at just a standard retail mint-on card figure. This methodology really applies to items that Collector Archive Services has not graded. As you can see, we got VC-183, the Rogue One Rebel Fleet Trooper. This item is so new that I can almost guarantee you that Collector Archive Services has not graded it yet. But if you're working with like a vintage Kenner card, for example, they've almost certainly graded it before, unless it's like some really rare foreign variant. But assuming you're submitting a mint-on card figure that has not been graded yet before, you would use the following methodology for getting the paperwork in order with Collector Archive Services. Okay, so here we are back at CollectorArchive.com's main homepage, and adding this VC-183 Rebel Fleet Trooper should be fairly easy. I can pretty much guarantee you that Collector Archive has not graded this item yet because it just came out fairly recently. So let's go to the new Have a Toy we haven't graded yet, like we did in option number 2 for the Gig Italian Boba Fett. For the manufacturer, obviously that's Hasbro. For the toy line, this is the Vintage Collection. I've already got it kind of filled in here, so I'm just scrolling through. But you can see Star Wars, the Vintage Collection, since that's the toy line. For the toy name, we'll go VC-183 Rebel Fleet Trooper. And then what I usually do is I add the name of the card back. What movie it's from, whether it's Star Wars, Rogue One, Mandalorian, whatever. I usually like to have my label say the name of the card back with it. So I put dash and then Rogue One. Obviously this just came out, so it's 2021. And for condition, it's new and sealed. And so that's pretty easy. Now, the issue is that the Rebel Fleet Trooper on VC-183 is a pack-in exclusive with the Corridor playset. So if you wanted to try and I'm not guaranteeing you that Collector Archive will do this. They might see my notes and ignore me. But in my case, I'm going to say VC-183 is a pack-in exclusive for the Tantive 4 Corridor playset. If there is room on the label, please note that this is a playset exclusive. Now again, I've submitted notes like this with submissions to Collector Archive, and they've agreed to do that on the label. Other times they have not. It just depends on how much room is on the label and if they'll agree to it. So it's no guarantee that they'll include playset exclusive or something like that on the label, but it's worth a try. And so again, for the return shipping, I'm just going to throw out a random number of $100 and then click on the insurance disclaimer again. And again, I'll hit add to cart, and you can see where it's custom add new item. Now again, you will not be charged for this submission until Collector Archive Services receives the item and checks it into their system, and then they will email you with a notification letting you know it's time to pay. So here we are back at CollectorArchive.com's main homepage yet again, and let's pretend that our cart is full of very expensive items to be graded. And now it's time to check out. So in the upper right hand corner, you'll see a segment here where it says My Cart. In our case, we're going to go to My Cart and then click on View Edit Cart. Thinking. At that point, it takes you to this shopping cart. And again, mine is empty right now because I'm not buying anything. I'm just doing this as an example. But it'll have everything listed, and it would have your total, including the cost of your insurance. You always pay for the return insurance cost on items that CAS has already graded and that you're paying for up front when you check out. Now, you got two options here, and this is important. You can either consolidate your order, where Collector Archive will wait until every single item in this order is complete. So if you got loose figures, if you got customs, if you got all kinds of weird stuff that's going to take a little while, you can hit the Proceed to Checkout button here, and it will ship it all back together and wait until everything's done before they ship it back. And you would click on the Proceed to Checkout item. But let's say you've got a custom item or some kind of weird prototype that's going to take 6 months to get done, and you don't want to wait that long to have the other items done. In that case, you would click Split Order, and when Collector Archive finishes a certain part of your order, then they will ship those items and then wait to ship the remaining items once those are complete. But keep in mind that you're going to be paying shipping twice. You're going to be paying for shipping on 2 different orders, assuming it's over 2 orders. And when you click proceed to checkout under the split order option, this warning will come up and it says, are you sure you want to split the order? This will incur multiple return shipping charges as each tier is complete and ready for shipping. So they have different tiers based on what you're ordering. And you would just hit OK, yes, I'm aware of that. And at that point, it would take you to the checkout section. Okay, so once we hit the checkout button, it then takes you to where you want to ship the items once Collector Archive Services is finished with the grading process. And I've scrolled down here just to provide some privacy with my address, but you'll see a red box when you get to the next screen that will have your address that you used when you first created your Collector Archive Services account. If you wanted to ship it somewhere else, then you would click this area under the new address and add a new address. But in my case, I want to ship it direct to the address that is on file with Collector Archive Services. So I would click the Ship Here button and then hit Next. So now it's time to pay the piper. You need to enter in your credit card information or pay by PayPal, but make sure to click on this little box that says I agree to CAS terms and conditions. And you'll notice that I've got a black box here around my shipping address, but it does show you the shipping address that you're going to be using for this order, so make sure that it's correct. But once you've entered in your credit card information or linked it to your PayPal account, at that point you would click the Place Order button. Your credit card or PayPal will be charged, and at that point your CAS account will have the order on file. And now it's time to ship. So now you have paid for everything, you got everything all boxed up, and you're getting ready to ship your items to Collector Archive Services. But one of the things that people always forget to do is print the packing slip for the order. So again, I'm back at the collectorarchive.com main home screen. Make sure you go up here to My Account and click on the My Account tab. Obviously, I have a lot of private information all blacked out, but on the My Account tab, under the recent orders, you'll see your latest order number. Again, I have mine blacked out. But you'll notice under Action, there's a little section that says Packing Slip. What you want to do is make sure to click on that, and it'll automatically pop up in a new window with the order slip in printable format that you then print, staple together, and include inside the box to send to Collector Archive Services. On the first page of the packing slip is the address to send everything to Collector Archive. So once they receive it, you will then be notified that everything is at Collector Archive Services and ready to be processed. So as you can see, I showed you 3 different examples in terms of how to do it step by step with the submission process with Collector Archive Services. If I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not very difficult, but if you have specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. The best way to reach out to me is through my Instagram, which is @ActionFigureGrader. Send me a private message. I'm happy to talk with folks. I do it a lot, a whole lot. So I'm always happy to help, and I'm always happy to answer very specific questions with regard to the submission process with Collector Archive Services. It's not hard to do, so don't be afraid to give it a try sometime. I really enjoy working with them because you can never really screw it up. Even if you have trouble with where to put stuff or what category to put it in and so forth, you can always, at a minimum, use the item not yet graded function. And they can sort it out for you and then bill you once the item is received and has been processed internally at their departments. But I'm just trying to make it as streamlined as I can for you, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you did find it helpful, tell people about this. Tell people about my channel, and like and subscribe, comment below, give me a thumbs up, and let me know that you guys enjoyed it, and maybe we can do it again sometime with some other different items. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.